Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning, the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world. How are all my peeps doing? I trust everybody's doing fine. You know why we will do fine? We will be doing fine because you are in charge. But you know what? Before we get started, without further ado, let's go into the control room with our resident geniuses. They don't like to accept it, but they are our resident geniuses who ensure we make it to the air. Good morning, Jack Van Bever. Good morning, Howard Reynolds, or Howard Reynolds, Jack Van Bever. How have my peeps doing?
Oh, well, let's see. We're okay. The tin cans are holding up this morning. Ever since we switched over to those Campbell soup cans, I mean, we've had a lot better quality.
Yeah, that's because like that, you only get the quality when the geniuses are involved, sir.
Well, we don't know about that, but we do know that Jack has some wisdom for us this morning. So go ahead.
Brother Jack.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Okay, I got two little things. First, serenity isn't freedom from the storm; it's peace within the storm.
Mm.
And yesterday the story that you shared about your father, just illustrates, the wickedness of the healthcare system. A father who passes after receiving a highly lucrative chemo treatments that were counterproductive and pushed by the doctors for prostate cancer demonstrates how the healthcare system preys on its victims.
Yes.
Rats.
Yeah, that was. I always hear him in the background say that right after your piece. That is great.
Those rats.
Those rats. What can I say? Those rats. But folks. Hey, thank you for always the wise words. Thank you for always the wisdom. Anyway, folks, welcome to Politics Done Right. And look, we've got a great show. Today is Thursday. And you know what that means? It means we have our good friend, our local activist, the one and only Neil, and I'm going to say it right, Neil Aquino. And I didn't have to make the mistake the first time this time. How are you doing, Neil?
I'm doing well, please, Egberto. I'm very, very appreciative to be with you and your great audience this morning.
Well, look, we are always appreciative of the work that you do. So let me tell you, folks, the title is Neil Aquino on Whitmire and more. Congress-led in childcare expire, strikes, and evil GOP. Actually, I should have said budget. Shouldn't have said Congress. Should have said budget, because there are a few good Republicans that I like in Congress. I just wish they'll speak up. Let me just say before I get into the subtitle is that, look, I think I am one who believes we don't only need a Democratic Party. We also need a strong Republican Party. Actually, I believe we need a whole lot of parties so that we get the best ideas, so that we can get the best things out there. Nobody has all the answers. And when anybody think they have all the answers, things get stale. People start to lose their edge. So I want a good, responsible Republican Party. I want a good, responsible Democratic Party. And I would like more parties, because the truth of the matter is my philosophy belongs in neither of the current parties. I just have to caucus with the one that is closest to what my personal beliefs are right now. And Neil has his own. Neil, where would you fall if you were to decide that you wanted to form your own party if these two don't fit?
Well, I have wished that we lived in more a parliamentary system. That's a great question. I'm not sure exactly how I would define it, except saying I wish there were more options, and I wish that at this point in my life, in my mid-50s,
Hello, Egberto. I really hate to interrupt the program.
Yes, no problem.
Neil is not coming through on your side.
Okay, well, I am glad you told me that, and I'm glad you told me that now, because Neil has a whole lot to say, and I think I know exactly why Neil is not coming over, and it's mea culpa. On this one system without a producer in this particular control room. Guess what it means? It means that I have to remember to do every click. And Neil, if you would say hello to your audience right now, we'll hear.
Good morning, Politics Done Right, audience across the earth.
Here we go. Folks, let me tell you something. That is why we have a great camaraderie, a great system here with everybody helping out everybody to get you a true live program of the people. Anyway, Neil, so as I was mentioning before, and as you mentioned, you don't know where you would be as far you would prefer a parliamentary system, as you said before.
Right. Yes, it would be great to have more options, and it would be sometimes the thought of more options is so alien. I can't even answer the question spot off because it seems inconceivable. And I wish I wasn't just forced to be with a party. Of course, I share many of the beliefs, but because I'm afraid that we're just not going to have free elections in a democracy, and it's regretful that we've been moved to the point where we're just fearful on this most basic level.
Absolutely. So anyway, folks, let me tell you, let me do the title again. Neil Aquino on Whitmire, Congress-led in childcare expire, strikes an evil GOP Congress. Neil Aquino discusses John Whitmire's dismissal of civil rights concerns, steaming with authoritarians. And it sounds kind of rough, but Neil's going to put that into perspective. Congress is allowing childcare expiration. Before the show, I was discussing with Neil the implications of what's going to occur right after January 30th with children, and the GOP is pushing astronomical cuts. It's likely we're not going to get to but 2 or 3 of these subjects, especially when you call in. I'd like you to give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Please do not wait till the end of the show to call, because I want to entertain fruitfully what you have to say, what you want to tell us, and what you want to ask us. 713-526-5738. Do remember, this is your show, and you, even as we have the subjects of the program, you can always call in and change the subject of the program in general. Likewise, you can always go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for all the videos, etc., that we had programmed for the show on any particular given day. And we have all the back shows, everything you can get to 713-526-5738. Now, Neil, let's start. I want to get your particular subject in the first one on Whitmire in, because I want our local audience to hear that, and our national and international audience to actually see the kinds of things that happen in this Harris County, this city that is actually considered a bellwether throughout the country. So let's have it.
Right. So I was attending as part of my Houston Democracy Project, the Houston Democracy Project, intending to inspire, strengthen, and organize pro-democracy coalitions. And there's a website. You can Google Houston Democracy Project, NeilAquino.com, Houston Democracy Project, to participate and view the site. So I attended the Meyerland Area Democrats meeting this past, just 2 nights ago. And it was a forum for the mayoral candidate of Houston, State Senator John Whitmire. And Senator Whitmire was asked a number of questions by the moderator, a local attorney named Noah Horowitz, right up front. And it was good to see it up front, about his close relationships with Republicans, such as Dan Patrick, the far-right state governor. And one of the things that Senator Whitmire was asked was about his support of Texas Department of Public Safety police troopers patrolling the streets of Houston. So this is something that had been done in Dallas recently, Austin recently, where the mayor, another older, longtime state senator, Kirk Watson, initially wanted them there, or agreed with Governor Abbott that the troops could come to patrol the streets. But then when Mayor Watson, a longtime figure in Austin, said, no, we don't want them anymore after some allegations of civil rights violations and over patrolling of Black and Latino neighborhoods, Governor Abbott wouldn't remove him. And so what Senator Whitmire said was that the people here in Houston who had concerns about these state troopers patrolling the streets, he said they were just part of the defund the police crowd. He just reflexively, and people have different attitudes about the police, and you may well support defunding the police, but he was using it as an insult. And here's this man, a Democrat, 49 years in the state legislature, if you can believe it. And rather than acknowledging that people might have legitimate civil rights concerns, that the state government that's banning books, attacking trans people, questioning elections, trying to undo elections, putting razor wire at the border for children to go through, rather than saying, hey, I get that you might have a civil rights concern about Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, and Ken Paxton's troopers here in Houston, the most diverse city in America. No, you're just some part of some radical subset. I can just dismiss you. And by extrapolation, he was calling his lead opponent for mayor of Houston, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, a defund the police advocate, which, for better or worse, she has not been. So it was disturbing on a number of levels. It was the kind of inferences, hey, it's these people. And then your legitimate civil rights concerns in this great, big, democratic, voting, diverse city are just to be mocked, rather than you don't want Texas state troopers.
That is upsetting because it's bad enough that Republicans are and welcome aboard, Melanie Keelan. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes on the chat. Melanie is in Barcelona, Spain. Eric Hayes is in Kingwood. Let me say that it's upsetting in that these people understand defund the. First of all, I tell all my activists, period, that I think the moniker defund the police, I understand exactly what it means, but it opened itself up to misrepresentation the way they said it, especially knowing who your opponent is. So I always had an issue with I supported what they're saying, but the issue is, how it was going to turn out. But for those who don't know, defund the police simply means take money out of overt police, some money out of the racist policing, over community policing, and put it into psychologists, put it into people who take care of whenever, instead of sending a cop to a domestic disturbance, you send somebody who can handle it. You don't turn cops into social workers. So therefore, instead of militarizing the police force, what you do is you take some of the money used for over policing, and you put it into resources that makes the community better. That is exactly what it means. If you read the documents on the issue, you would find that out. If you are a community who is over policed, if you are a community who the police really does wrong by said community, empathy would tell you should listen to that community in what they're asking for. Communities where there is a lot of violence, people want police officers to come and do their jobs. They just don't want the innocent ones in that community to be harmed. I am very concerned whenever a police is next to me, irrespective of who that police is, because I understand how many officers, not all, but definitely a large percentage, view the value of my life. People can accept that or not, but that is the way I feel. That's the way many people feel. That's the way. And it's great to see our brother Neil Aquino and many others are out there in the fight. Now, when you have a mayor like Whitmire, or rather somebody who's running for mayor like Whitmire, make believe that he doesn't understand what that means, and then he also uses it as a pejorative, then that is not the type of mayor that Houston should have. Houston should have a mayor that supports all communities and doesn't demean any community within that community. Neil, you just kind of boiled my blood there for a second.
That's great the way he actually makes believe he doesn't understand, because that's been his whole theme. He has consistently been hit by his relationships with authoritarians and vote deniers. And he makes it so, like Lieutenant Governor Patrick, many of his colleagues in the state Senate, Republican colleagues, and he's like, you're not going to criticize me for being bipartisan. Well, he's not being reflexively criticized for being bipartisan. He's being criticized fairly, because he's hanging out with people who would take our most basic rights, and he doesn't ask them, at least as a condition of interacting with them, hey, will you at least respect election results? So we've been so to your earlier conversation of, where would we fall, or in a parliamentary or multi-party system, what options do we have? Here in Houston, we're being asked to embrace a vision of the Democratic Party which doesn't even ask the most basic question of some of the Republicans, whether at the city council, county, or state legislative level, of do you support even the most basic freedom of respecting election results and respecting democracy?
And if you watch his commercials, right, and I'm surprised that the only opponent that I see with a commercial recently with an ad on TV is Garcia. I haven't seen ads of anybody else on any of our networks. And, I think if you take a look at the modal or the form in which Whitmire has placed his ads, it seems like he is, in fact, using the same type of people who make Republican commercials. I find it ironic because, again, it's first touch your heart with things you don't believe, because you can't go ahead and tell me I grew up very poor, I grew up in these neighborhoods, etc. You put a whole lot of people of color on your ads, and then you go to a meeting like which Democratic meeting was he at?
This was the Meyerland Area Democratic Club, a historically Jewish part town, very democratic part of town.
You see, and they try to assert their fears, because that part, I know the club, I even know the person who runs the club. Right. But what they do is, if you take a look at it, this law and order thing, they want one to believe that crime has gone up. There's no doubt about that, but we can give some socioeconomic reasons why crime has gone up. We know that. But to make people believe that when they step out of their home, they're in danger, that is so far from the reality. There's a piece that Fox News did in Seattle. Seattle is one of the places where crime went up by a large percentage. But of course, if you're starting from a very, very small amount of crime, it's not hard to double the crime rate. And that sounds crazy. Oh, the crime rate has doubled. Instead of 2 people getting killed, 4 did. In a metropolitan area of X million people. I'm not trying to diminish crime at all, folks. I'm trying to say, be careful of how people spin things and how they scare you, so as they create policies that harm not only you, but many of your brothers and sisters. And that is what we have to keep away. Whitmire, if you take a look at his ads and these other features, you ought to be concerned about the kind of mayor when that kind of a deception shows up in these ads, including stating that you have the support of people that didn't support you. Go ahead, Neil.
Right. And a lot of so you referenced Gilbert Garcia. I saw his ads last night, and it was kind of like you're describing here. It was something out of Death Wish. Remember, if I'm dating myself, but Charles Bronson would go out on the street of New York and try to mug him, right? And so this crime narrative, they keep using this crime narrative, but the tough on crime crew, the law enforcement unions and some of the groups that say they're self-appointed crime watchdogs, they don't have a word to say about our lawless attorney general. They don't have a word to say when our county district attorney is accused in the newspaper, Kim Ogg, of using her office politically motivated. They don't have a word to say when the leading Republican presidential nominee, and it is a local matter, says we're going to hang the generals or we're going to shut down media outlets. So if there was a consistent emphasis on law and order and rightful conduct, you might say, okay, they have these further right views on crime. I don't agree, but
they're consistent.
they criminalize our people. We're essentially criminalized for living in a multiracial or diverse community. There's all sorts of inferences in what they're saying. And then they don't call out white supremacist or authoritarian or anti-democratic behavior from people super powerful. So just imagine a city, and we'd love to hear the callers talking about the city elections and all of it. Just imagine a city of Houston run by Whitmire and the police unions, and then our county district Tim Ogg. When
we talk about democratic in name only or progressive in name only, that is exactly what you would get. So let me tell you to my to the listeners out here of Houston, Harris County, Houston, Austin, Travis County, El Paso, Tarrant County, Dallas counties. Let me tell you something, folks. There are very few pockets of freedom in Texas. Don't be conned. Don't get conned into ceding them to autocrats. Don't get conned into ceding them to people who will hurt your fellow brothers and sisters in several neighborhoods in these areas. So, Neil, I'm glad that we brought this subject up on Whitmire, on his refusal to come out and give accurate information, and even Garcia as well, accurate information on crime, accurate information on policing, accurate information, and also as they, remember they used to talk about palling around, and as you pal around with autocrats, if you're palling around with autocrats before you got elected, again, right. If you're palling around with autocrats before you get elected, what can we expect when you get elected? What can we expect as far as providing policing and servicing to your community at that point in time? Citizens of Houston, citizens of Harris County, citizens all over, don't be conned, as too often we are in this entire country, for electing those who really serve the few and us. But anyway, I want to change subjects a bit here. On January 30th, something big happens, and enough people are not speaking about it, but it's going to affect a whole lot of our brothers and sisters, a whole lot of working people, specifically a lot of working women. And I prepared a rant for that last night. Actually, for the program, I think I did it as well on my 3:00 program. But I want you to listen to this. It's about 8 minutes long or so. And after that, I want to hear your calls, 713-526-5738, on whatever issue, either what Neil spoke about, what I'm talking about, or what you want to talk about. 713-526-5738. Please don't wait till the end of the show. This is going about 8 minutes, starting right this minute. I heard Joe Biden say one time, show me your budget and I'll show you your values. Again, show me your budget and I'll show you your values. I'm going to expand on that. Show me what you are willing to spend on. Show me what you are willing to tax for. And I'll tell you how much you care about families. I'll tell you how much you care about family values and how much you care about humanity. Well, we are in that position right now. And, it's something that we alluded to a few months ago, a few weeks ago. It turns out that at the end of this month, the subsidies that were given, it was written under the COVID plan. COVID was used, the COVID pandemic was ultimately used to do a lot of experiments that we couldn't otherwise get Congress to pass because, again, they never are proactive. Specifically, the right side of the aisle is never proactive enough to say, let's do what's best for our citizens. Let's do what's best for our families. So they are never prepared to do it. But COVID came along, and yes, we spent trillions, and we could see in spending those trillions programs that worked and programs that didn't. What we found out is investing in children could ameliorate poverty, could get rid of poverty. It could bring poverty all the way down. Now that we didn't reinstitute many of the policies that prevented child poverty over the last year, when they expired, child poverty went all the way back up. Now, we have something else that's expiring, the subsidies at the end of this month that go towards programs that help kids, that childcare while the parents are at work, that sort of a thing. 70,000 care programs are going to shut down, affecting over 3 million kids. But that's not all. Because in affecting the kids, you will affect the parents. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Is that it's at the end of the month of the pandemic era funding for childcare. What was that, and what will happen when it expires?
Look, this was part of the American Rescue Plan, Katie, and we covered it at the time, a way to help the pretty floundering childcare system in the U.S. at least have some foundation for support financially. Those benefits are now set to expire. And look, it comes at a time when moms are finally rebounding to their pre-pandemic workforce rates. That's a good thing. But you and I both know when moms don't have childcare, generally that means that they have to scale back or pull out of the workforce in order to sacrifice that paid labor for the unpaid labor of being at home. This is an age-old issue. And it's a reminder that even though this isn't directly at play in this larger spending battle, when you're constantly fighting crises here on Capitol Hill, it makes actual proactive legislating really hard or basically impossible. And so on this one, the fact that they are looking elsewhere means that they can't push forward on continuing to expand this. And this could have really dire consequences for a childcare industry that is so essential and also so starved for resources already.
Listen, if you can't put your kids in childcare, you can't do anything else. It's not like you can go to work with your toddler or your newborn. It doesn't work that way in this country. So it is extremely important.
So what does that mean? It means now, remember how our unemployment went way down. You know why? People could go to work. Why could people go to work? Because they had childcare. Childcare that otherwise, given the meager salaries that they receive, wouldn't be enough. But because of government subsidies, good government, what it meant is that people that would otherwise have to stay home could now go to work. And in going to work, we got new taxpayers. And not only do we get new taxpayers, because they have an income, that money flows right back into the economy. So it's more than just getting taxpayer. It's increasing economic activity that is warranted by that. Remember, the powers that be thought we would be in a recession by now because they believe in supply side economics. And if we did all of this, somehow we would be back in a recession. But to the chagrin of all these supposedly preeminent economists, right-wing economists, supply side economists, the recession never came. The recession never came because we gave money to the people who needed it, would spend it, and would work. That's why the recession never came. It wasn't magical. It was because we got away from supply side economics for the duration of the COVID pandemic and went into Keynesian economics with a touch of what again? MMT. That is what did it. We knew it would work. It's not like many of our left-wing economists didn't explain the reason why this stuff works. Now, people are going to say, yes, but look at what happened to inflation. Well, the inflation was caused again by a capitalist corporate evil that these guys saw that people have money in their pockets, so they will throw the prices to meet the money. But we could have regulated that as well. So now at the end of this month, what happens? At the end of this month, in a few days, we're September 2023. A lot of families will be looking for places to put their kids that they can afford. And most of these people won't be able to afford it. Most of these people, the gains that they thought they've made with the new jobs that they've had will no longer be there. And we will be regressing right back into the evil form of tax cuts, hurt the middle class, hurt the poor. That folks cannot see that the mainstream media hasn't made the narrative in the form that I'm saying right now, that I'm putting out right there. We proved COVID gave us the ability to spend and prove that Keynesian economics along with MMT works. We proved it. Poverty went down, no recession, economic activity, and the only thing that we needed to then mitigate was the greed, the evil, the simply mitigated gall of those who run our corporations. The answers are there in the numbers. The answers are there in the numbers if we choose to look at it. Family values my you know what. Come on, folks. Come on, politicians. Speak the truth. Come on, media. Speak the truth. Let's do what we know is right to the families of America. Anyway, so yeah, that one really got to me. Donald is on line number 1. Come on in, Donald. And don't forget, folks, give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Donald is our first caller. I hope to get much more of you because, like I said, I like when the control of the program is yours. We've given you 2 important subjects. We have more, but you can always go to the newsletter if you want to change the subjects right now. Come on in, Donald. Talk to me.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Your guest. Okay. He's able to dodge thrown objects, hold his breath as the black soot settles, and actually get HPD to do their job. It's protest man.
Talk to me. Are you talking about Neil Aquino?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, go ahead, Neil. Respond to your fan.
Very, very kind, very kind. I appreciate the kind words and working together. We protest at the corner to inspire other people to act as well. And I'm very appreciative of the acknowledgement this morning.
Donald?
Okay, and one other thing. Yes, sir. You talked about rats.
Yes.
You realize how many rats are on a ship when it's sinking? And the people on the Titanic could tell you the ones as they were floating in the water with the rat, how many were in the boat. And that's it.
Donald, you always have something insightful and funny to say. Thank you so kindly for calling in, Brother Donald. Anyway, folks,
rats.
All right, that's it.
I got you, brother. Take care. 713-526-5738. Folks, please don't wait till the end. You hear me trying to rush you guys at the end because you wait till the end of the program to call in. Call in now. 713-526-5738. Extension number 2 gets you on air right away. Extension number 2 gets you on air right away. Neil, did you have a second subject to talk to us about?
I do. And let me just also say, based on what you said, Axios Houston reported last July that the average cost of toddler care in Texas is $8,700 a year. That's 28% of the median income for single mothers. And home-based care is an average of $7,900 a year for toddler costs. So just like you said at the very end, because it's what I was thinking the whole time, they talk about family values, but that seems to involve, banning a book because it might teach a kid to be kind or might teach them that there was slavery. And that's their conception of family values. And these costs, nearly 67% of Houston children under 6 are in households where all the parents, whether that be a single parent or multi-parent household, work. So those are some of the costs, and they are high. And we don't address it. We talk about banning books or scare the hell out of parents.
It is sad. It is completely sad. We got some more calls. Let's go to Johnny on line number 1. Come on in, Johnny.
Well, if TYT can have epic politics, man, then KPFT could have protest man. And by the way, we'll get you big red cape or blue cape with the red insignia that says PM, politics man. How's about that?
I love that. I love that. I love that. Hey, politics man. Anyway, Johnny, what's up?
Okay. Protest man, I mean. Protest man.
Protest man. Yeah. Talk to me, Johnny.
Okay, so we have a tremendous amount of waste in this country, as you already know, because of the way we practice our economy, unfettered, underregulated, mercenary-style capitalism, which leads to all kinds of wastage. And the kind of wastage I'm talking about is people power. We have a tremendous resource, young people, grade school and high school kids. And how do we meet the needs of what they need? They need experience. They need credits. They can serve a part of their time in the week. They can go to their local grade school and report to the cafeteria, let's say. And there's an area within the cafeteria where there are children 3 years and older who are there who need to be minded and talked to and guided with all kinds of fun activities. And there'll be an adult or two adult supervisors there who are social workers. We don't have to build extra buildings, extra schools, or extra childcare centers because the childcare center industry is profit-oriented. That's the problem.
You know, I mean, wait, Johnny, stop. I mean, you are a genius. I've been calling so many people geniuses these days because the truth of the matter is the American people, if you leave it up to what we in this social structure wants, we can get solutions. I don't know if you understand the intellect that went into what you just said. Let me summarize a bit here. We already have buildings where kids are going to school. We don't have to build another building and hire a whole lot of other people to make a corporation a lot of money to hold on to kids where the parents have to then take their kids. We can use what's have already been built, our schools by us, we the people, and we can put public folks in there paid to go ahead and take care of the kids, child care, etc., as parents go to school. Ingenious. We don't even have to create more capital buildings and all these kinds of things. Johnny? Yes, absolutely. There are solutions if we are willing to get out of the for-profit domain and use the things that we've already paid for and built. Very good concept, sir. Continue.
That is the power of socialism. So maybe I'm not Mayor McCheese anymore. Maybe I'm socialist man.
No. Wait a minute. Let's not give it a label. Let's call it a smart use of all of our resources. Remember, you start labeling this stuff and folks are going, listen, we want free enterprise and we want great social safety net. That's all we need to say. No labels necessary. Anyway, Johnny, I need to go to another caller. Tell me something real quick so I can move on.
Whether or not we like it, we do deal in labels, and we need to take that back and put the other side on the defensive with language. And
there you and
go.
I are the. Thank you, brother. You nailed it. All right, Lynette, come on in.
Hey, Egberto, thank you so much for the work that you do. Just wanted to say thank you for breaking down why we avoided recession. And finally, somebody has the numbers as to how now we should have the numbers of how to help us all not to be in poverty, because we know what it takes, and America can do that. And so if somebody can calculate that, because we were able to come out of a recession or not have a recession, I know somebody knows they spend so much money on everything else. What is it that we're supposed to be the richest country? Why can't we avoid people being in poverty in the U.S.? Thank you.
Yeah, Lynette, don't leave yet. I have a task for you, Lynette. I have a task. You just heard what we talk about. You understand why things work this way. Now what we need to do is have all the Lynnettes out there putting this message out. It doesn't have to be politics done right. It doesn't have to be KPFT. You are the messenger as well. So please, let's stay together, talk together, but let's all be the voices and multiply each of our voices. All right?
I totally agree. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. All right, let's go to Samantha. Come on in, Samantha.
Great show today.
Thank you very much. Thank you so kindly. Talk to me.
I just have some comments about the economy and our election year coming up. I just want to say that we're kind of forgetting about our third parties, we got all these big wigs running this time, Tim Scott and Doug Burgum and Ron DeSantis, and the way that we're going to come in is at the third party. We've got the libertarians, and we've got the Greens, and we've got the socialists, and they've got a lot going on, especially at the economy. They've got emergency job programs that they're trying to work on, doing storm cleanup and putting in solar panels and stuff for the climate, and they're providing jobs for that, because we're almost losing our voices behind the Tim Scotts of the world, even Kamala Harris and them. I mean, we don't have a whole lot to say anymore, and a lot of people are being scared to vote. And but I wanted to just remind folks that there are third parties out there that are struggling to get seen and heard, but they've got lots of good agendas.
Samantha, let me first tell you that you're right that there are third parties out there, and you're also right that they're not getting the recognition that they deserve, especially some of what they're doing. I mean, we even have the DSA and many other organizations out there doing some good work. It was a DSA who went into the inner cities and helped tear down sheetrock during the flood. It wasn't our mayor taking care of all areas equitably at all times. So we had organizations like the DSA going in and doing a whole lot of good work. But let me just say one thing here. If you heard this program from the beginning, you heard Neil and I speaking about we wish we had a whole lot more choices, because while I caucus with the Democratic Party, and I'm sure Neil does as well, the values that we share are likely with what another party would represent, which means personally, I'm a hell of a lot more progressive. Personally, I believe in a lot of other things. And based on how you are sounding, it sounds like it may be closer to where you're at. Now, that said, all of us have to be very pragmatic in the choices that we make, in the way that we deal with elections. I want good third-party candidates out there, not to make a point, but to win. Again, when I say we call them third party, I want other parties. I don't even want to call them third parties. I want to say other parties, because they are not, you know how people talk about the third world. Hey, I'm from the third world. We're human beings like anybody else. I want viable people running. The other parties have a lot of work to do. We have to convince enough people to vote appropriately, including voting for progressives who are willing to bring third parties into the fold, because right now it's biased against them. So my thing right now is we need to create a hell of a lot more democracy. We have to be very pragmatic in who we elect to ensure that who ultimately comes in doesn't cause the failure of democracy before we can actually attain real democracy. And that means electing not being a problem, but being a part of the solution. Neil, you want to add to that?
So I'm certainly sympathetic to the desire for additional parties, and it's a very rough road at this moment. You referenced DSA, the local Democratic Socialist of America chapter, and there are such chapters across the country. And what they do is that they endorse Democrats. That's actually a subject of dispute in the group, what they want to do. But they endorse Democrats in the good work you referenced after Hurricane Harvey, or they're very active right now in City Proposition A, which would be the democracy expanding motion of allowing 3 council members to introduce something to the council agenda in our strong mayor system. So I think that approach at the moment is the pragmatic and also hopeful approach. Pragmatism can be hopeful. So I'm sympathetic to the desire for more, and I wish we had different and better and more hopeful ways to express ourselves. And that's a very rough road. And even our local Democratic Socialist chapter proceeds in the way that Egberto, you've been talking about.
Right. Absolutely. So, sir. Harry, come on in. Harry, you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
Yeah. Good morning, Michael McDonald, Senor Williams. Good morning
Buenos dias.
to Mandela, and good morning to Howard Reynolds. And good morning to Neil Aquino. All you guys are Michael McDonald's because you continue to reason away, as I stated on the show yesterday. That's a song you guys could play right before your show comes on. But to start off, I will say, as far as Texas is concerned and the policing and all these other subjects with childcare, what Texas is going to have to do is get more progressives elected because, you have to wait 2 years as far as Greg Abbott is concerned because he's not concerned with those matters. He's just concerned for the few. So you got to get a progressive Democrat to defeat him. And then the Republican legislatures, you're going to get those people voted out and you got to get progressives voted in so that child care for women can be more sensible and become more of a reality so women don't have to scale back their work. And as far as the policing is concerned, I've talked about this with many people. We got to have rubber bullets, get rid of lethal bullets. And as you know, Roberto, both of us being black men, we always get concerned when there are police around because it could end up fatal when it comes to us or even brown skinned people or yellow skinned people. And we just have to get more progressive people in there that care about people. So you wise men continue to reason away.
Well, thank you, sir. And by the way, this is the first time I actually knew you were a black man. So
you didn't know I was black, Roberto?
I had no clue. No, I had no clue.
I'm a black man, yeah.
All right. No problem, man. Not that hue matters, not that pigmentation matter. Hey, that's cool. All right. But anyway, thank you, my brother Harry. You keep listening, you keep calling, and you keep letting us know. Okay, brother?
I'll keep doing all it and keep having these wise callers.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one, my brother. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. Please don't wait till the end. We still have about 10 more minutes of calls that we can take. 713-526-5738. Today we have Brother Neil Aquino, what I call a Houston activist extraordinaire. And, because he's here in Houston, the things that he does have value, not a value, but all over the entire country. But anyhow, Neil, continue, my friend. I think there was one other subject that we were talking about before we get another call. 713-526-5738, extension 2. Please call now and don't wait till the end. Go ahead, Neil.
Great. And thank you for the kind words from the last caller. This past Friday, I attended an event set up by a group called Save White Oak Bayou in the Heights neighborhood of Houston. And the state of Houston wants to expand I-10. You've heard about them expanding I-45. There's always money for freeways, even if there's money for nothing else. And they want to expand I-10 to go over White Oak Bayou and to come into Stude Park, S-T-U-D-E, Stude Park. And I went to the event, and when one of the persons participating was a member of HISD Board of Managers, Jeanette Garza-Lindner, and she's known to some because she's one of the Board of Managers, the one who ran for the school board in 2021. She says she's a Democrat, but lost, and then was appointed by the far-right state government, Greg Abbott's Texas Education Agency, to be on the Board of Managers. So Ms. Lindner, a citizen of Houston, opposed the state coming and messing up the park, opposed the expansion of the highway, but at the same time is on the Board of Managers, which has removed the elected school board, again at state intervention, in the fourth biggest city in the country, a city that just 60 years ago was a Jim Crow city. So it sure seemed like an act of hypocrisy to oppose one state takeover and then to support another state takeover. And I wanted to highlight that, and that allows us to bring focus again to the Board of Managers who sit there in contravention of democracy. And that gets to a point you made earlier, Egberto, about, and the caller earlier, who you talked about using HISD facilities or existing school facilities as childcare, because one of the great concerns under the new superintendent, F. Mike Miles, who seems to be the boss of the board of managers, is that he's going to get rid of what they term in HISD the wraparound services, which help kids with food and with all sorts of social support services. So it's all connected, and these attacks on democracy connect to so many aspects of things we've been talking about. And the ability for an intelligent individual, Miss Linder's an intelligent individual, to have such a stark split between taking one role and then standing out there and saying, "Hey, state, don't come and mess with the park here in my."
It is a standard behavior of some of these people. In other words, when it benefits us, we'll go for the takeover, or we'll want state control. But when it doesn't benefit us, we don't want it. But what's interesting is, you notice one thing dealt with humans and the other thing dealt with property. It's amazing, right? Somehow capital is okay. We don't, leave the capital on its own, leave the park, the physical thought. But when it's time to control other people's lives, we're going to intervene without a problem. It is rampant hypocrisy. But again, all of these things have solutions. And it's like we were talking to Lynette about earlier. They all have solutions, but we have to engage. What I tell people all of the times, right, is the way our system is organized is it's controlled by a few, but it's only controlled by a few because the few knows how to use psychology to get folks into believing that they don't have any other recourse. And that is what many, if you go ahead and talk to certain groups, it's like, well, things are never going to change. That is saying that you've given up on being able to define your future. And that's not the case in America yet. Notice I said yet. It's getting there, but yet. What we have to do is realize that we still have power, and that's what they fear. Here's the thing, and this I want to bring this up since you talk about freedom. You came talking about freedom today. Now that many in our oligarchy or plutocracy, the wealthy, many of the folks are realizing that there are people out there making sure that Americans understand how the system works, that Americans are getting educated. Remember, they don't teach you physics in school anymore by choice. They want to make sure you don't understand your rights as a citizen in this country. Because here is the deal. Right now, one person, one vote still occurs. A few years ago, several years ago, I wrote this article talking about minority rule, how it's instituted. Look, our founders instituted a certain kind of minority rule. How did they do that? Landowners, big states, still, even if they only have 10 people living in that state, they get a full 2 senators, right? The person who elects the president is the electoral college. So there are mathematical ways in which a minority of people can run the country. Well, guess what? The country is becoming more progressive. So even though even little states get 2 senators, even those little states are getting more progressive. I mean, Louisiana is becoming more progressive. If you doubt it, look at the laws that they have allowed to pass, including the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Texas is becoming more progressive. So what do they try to do? They try to restrict the votes of Harris County, El Paso County, Dallas County, because those counties are enough to win elections in Texas. So they try to restrict those counties. The entire country is becoming more progressive. If you doubt it, ask the questions, and the way people answer it tells you. Forget about using labels. You ask them, they become more progressive. So what does a plutocracy do? What does an oligarchy do when they find out that, guess what? People are becoming more progressive, and they're going to ask the questions. Why am I going to work so hard so a few capitalists can take all the profits of my labor? I am going, and people are realizing all these strikes that you're seeing in Florida, all the strikes that you're seeing in Michigan, all the strikes that you're about to see in Las Vegas, which is one of the subjects we were supposed to cover today. People are striking all over. You know why? People are starting to ask the question, why am I doing it all for somebody else? It's a progressive country, a nascent progressive country. So you know where they went for now? The courts. The courts. The only non-democratic portion of this country are the courts. So no matter what the people say, we want this policy, that policy, Congress passes it, the president signs it, because we now have a majority, the courts can always say, guess what? That's unconstitutional. And even though most of us want it, they can rule by the minority. We can't let that happen. One person, one vote, and repair the damage done by the court. We only have 2 minutes left now. So before I get back to Neil, I want to go back to the control room and have a little message from both our great guys, Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Bever.
Pretty exciting show today. And thank you for everything that you do, Egberto, to bring the truth to light. Now here's some wisdom from Jack.
Well, it's not wisdom, maybe a statement. Vote the bullies out.
Vote them out.
Vote them out.
Let's give a hand to Brother Jack.
Oh, I'm telling you what, I'm feeling a soapbox coming on, but I've only got about a minute left, so I'll give
come on. No. Give me 30 seconds of your soapbox. I love it.
Oh, man. If you don't like what's going on, and I don't, I am going to go vote them out. Vote them out, people. These rats have to go. Those rats in Austin.
Bully rats.
Yeah, those bully rats in Austin. They're turning us into Nazi Germany, for heaven's sakes. We've got to vote them out. To vote them out. One more time. We have to vote them out.
All right, Neil Aquino, give me a closer.
Right. And as you mentioned on the strikes, don't forget the great local Starbucks unionization efforts that are going on.
Thank you.
My platform is the Houston Democracy Project. You can Google Houston Democracy Project. You'll find it. It's at neilaquino.com. Appreciate all the many callers today. And it's super important. The local focus. There are municipal elections. There's candidates. Some are good, some are less so. But be sure to press them about, do you support democracy? What side of the police line will you be if they overturn an election? The state, and there you have it.
Thank you so kindly, folks. Look, and Howard Reynolds, Jack Van Bever in the control room. Thank you so kindly. Neil, thank you for waking up. Neil Aquino from the Democracy Project. Thank you so kindly for waking up early this morning to do the program. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.